What's up, you guys? Thank you all for heading over here to my channel to check out my videos. My name is Allocation Noir and I am with Noir Leaf Collective. And if you haven't been through my channels yet, I suggest you go through and check them out. I try to post a lot of educational and just inspiring videos with plant mail and all things plant related, but specifically with allocations. So without further ado, this is what we got going on today. Alright, guys, today we had a huge haul. If you look at my previous video, we had an unboxing with the moose roots, and he specializes in TCs, tissue cultures. So today we're gonna be deflasking all of these TCs, you guys. So are you ready? Because I know I am. Let's do this. Alright, guys, so tissue cultures, it's a little plant. If you can see this, it's a little plant, right? It's got its own roots, its own leaf. It's its own little happy entity in this little pack, and these usually get imported from overseas. There are some labs that do these here in the United States, but basically it's your own little plant. It has its own life. So there's a few items we need to do and a few steps we need to do before we deflask. Deflasking is pretty much taking the TC out of the pack, washing off that agar, because if you can see, there's like a jelly substance. That's the growing medium, okay? So we need to take that out of the agar, clean the agar off, and then disinfect our TC, and then we can properly put it into the substrate. So to get started, some of the things we're going to need: TCs. We're gonna need 2 wash bowls, right? We got one wash bowl here, another wash bowl here, and one is going to be to clean the agar off of the TC. You can also do this over running water, and the other one we're going to be using as our decontamination bath. And with that, we're going to be doing hydrogen peroxide and a little bit of betadine. Okay, these are all antiseptic, and it's going to just, if there's any mold or any type of things that we don't want on our TCs, that's going to go ahead and clean that off. So let's go ahead and do this, you guys. All right, so one thing I did forget to mention, we're going to be using this is fluval stratum with perlite. As you can see, I got my parts already in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up once we're ready. Typically I like to pot using these little pots right here. It has a little window so you can see the water line. Okay, these are self-wicking pots, and what I like to do is I like to burn extra holes inside of the pot, if you can see that there. Okay, and it does come with holes down here on the bottom as well. And the reason why I like to burn extra holes is just for extra aeration. It's going to help the roots breathe a little bit better and faster. Okay, so normally you have the wick like this, not this long, but this is just for example. It sits inside of the self-watering cup. The TC goes in here, and the wick, through capillary action, pulls up the nutrients or the water. Okay. So, but today, what we're going to be using instead is we're using these little cups, these little 2 ounce, right, little shot cups, and all I'm going to be doing is just placing it inside of here and capping it with a dome. And what I'm using for a dome is just going to be this. Okay, that's simple, you guys. Okay, this is going to be our final setup, and the reason for this is because I don't want to go ahead and pot straight into these. I want to make sure that I'm using the smallest size available so that the roots are actually taking. Okay, so just a little bit of explanation before we get started. All right, my friends, so super important, PPE, right? Now, the importance of wearing gloves is because a lot of these hormones, you know, there's some hormones that are actually dangerous to humans, and others that, you know, not too bad, but either way, you just want to use the proper PPE when handling this stuff, because at the end of the day, you don't know what chemicals are being used to make it. So it's that easy, right? You don't have to use these gloves. You can use the black, the blue ones, the pink if you prefer, but it is what it is. All right, so now that we got our PPE ready to go, we're we're gonna go ahead. This is a lot of TCs, you guys, so I might just do a few here on video and then finish off the rest off the video, because we don't want to have a 2-hour TC session, or maybe we do. But I'm super excited for this one, so we're gonna start with this one. This is the Tigrina Albo. I don't know if you guys can see that here. Tigrina Albo. This thing is beautiful, you guys. Big, super huge leaf. These get super big, so I'm super excited for this. Another thing that I do have is my label machine. Typically what I do is I cut the pre-existing label and put it into the jar, and then I label them later. So for right now, that's probably what we're gonna have to do. Let's go ahead and prep our hydrogen bath. So typically a 9 to 1 part of hydrogen peroxide to water. So I just kind of count 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then just a few drops of the betadine. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I have my handy dandy little tweezers here, or you could just use your fingers. Alright, you guys. So make sure when you guys are cutting these TCs open, whatever device you plan to use to cut it open, just make sure you got a good handle on it, and always be careful. That could have happened. Alright, so we want to be very careful because we don't want to rip any leaves. Alright, we're going to open the bag. You can either pull this out with your hand or tweezers. I'm very clumsy and I have big clumsy hands, so I'm going to use these tweezers slightly. We do not want to rip this leaf. That would be so bad, ripping this beautiful leaf live. Alright, so a lot of the agar stays in here in the bag, as you can see. Okay. We're just going to place this off to the side here, and we're going into our washing bowl. And all we want to do here is massage these roots gently, trying to get as much of that agar off. Now during this process, if you have any leaves that seem like they're just not looking too great, this is the time when you can go ahead and rip those off, you guys. Okay, I highly recommend that you leave as much of the healthy part as you can, but when in doubt, just pull it out, because the plant is resilient and it will regrow. You want to get almost all of that agar off, because the agar is pretty much sugar, and any medium you're putting that thing into, it's going to grow mold. So we do have 2 big leaves. And once the agar is off, you'll feel the TC not as waxy, the tissue culture. They'll start to feel more rough. So rub, 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 rub. That's looking really good. Right. So as you can see, there's our tissue culture, nice and clean. Nice fruits, got the nice leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and leave those 2 leaves, and we're gonna go ahead and put it in our decontamination bowl right here, and into the next. Now I'm not gonna get too carried away. I'll probably do about 4 or 5 of them. I'll probably do about 5 of them, just so we have a good selection. So let's do this one. This is a beautiful dragon scale aria. If you guys have never seen these, beautiful color, high var. And this one was a freebie, so who doesn't like a freebie? Alright, you guys, let's go ahead, open her up. That's pretty sloppy. I have been smoother, but it's okay. So before you even pull it out of the bag, you could go ahead and kind of try to rub off as much of that jelly as you can. Jelly, agar. And same thing, we're just rinsing it off, rubbing it off. And I was watching another YouTuber, and she was naming her plants, and I used to do that, but then it got to the point where you get so many plants that you're just like, oh man, there's too many to name. But she did put them on her label, so it just makes it easier to remember that way. And she did have a good point. She did say that, like, you know, instead of saying like, oh, the so and so plant is like, you can actually like call it by its name, and you know. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that once I start labeling these. Like I said, I used to do that back in the day, but I just kind of got away from it. This is beautiful. Look at this. This TC is pretty much done here, right? Nice and cleaned off. That goes into our decontamination bowl here. So that's a dragon scale aria. All right, let's do, so this one right here, caramel marble, pink. Super excited for this one. If you guys want to see what this one looks like, go to my previous video, and I did post some pictures of what it looks like as a mature plant. But very beautiful. Right, my friends. So this process is pretty fast, pretty easy. Not much to it, just cleaning off the gel. As I'm pulling it out, I try to kind of keep as much of that gel in here. Look at that. Look at that beautiful focus, guy. Focus. There we go. Beautiful. Alright. And we did lose a nice little long root here, but it's okay. So if you've never had a chance to try tissue cultures, right now the market, at least the exotic plant market is starting to become saturated with them, so which is good because it drives prices down. But then on the seller's end, you know, that kind of impacts on their end. But hey, you know, it's make a buck where you can and you enjoy the rest where you can. For me as a consumer, since I don't sell any plants yet, I'm loving it because it gives me a chance to own rare plants at a fraction of a cost. So this is the pink caramel marble, and she seems about ready there. One of these roots does feel pretty gelatinous, but I don't want to rub it too long because, you know, you just never know. I think I need to add a little bit more hydrogen peroxide. I like to see my tissue cultures bubbling up. So don't be shy with that hydrogen peroxide. They will not be hurt. Alright guys, we have, wow, look at this thing. This is a massive Friday, alocasia Friday. This is a beautiful one. Huge. Nice high bar color. You guys can see that there. Camera doesn't want to focus. There we go. But we're not gonna do that one. Let's do Florida Beauty. Ooh, so the Epiprenum. This is a pathos, guys. Cebu Blue. Cebu Blue Epiprenum. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, but I still haven't figured out how to say it. But I know it's a pathos. It's a blue pathos. It's got some blue shine to it. And when I saw a picture of the mature leaves, I was like, wow, that's a beautiful plant. So. And I just lost my tweezers. Alright, no worries. Alright, once again, we want to be gentle. This one, very easy to come out. A lot of these plants are like super amazing, you guys. The goal is to collect them and grow them out, and if you can, you know, you propagate them and share them with friends and family. If not, then hey, like, you got more plants for yourself to enjoy. This one as well was a freebie from Moose Roots. If you guys don't follow Moose Roots yet, I'll put his information up here, and you guys make sure to give him a follow. But super amazing guy. I started my plant journey here collecting rare and exotic plants through pups or tissue cultures or corms, and he was actually one of the first guys that I bought tissue cultures from. And I have bought them from other people, but I always tend to go back to him because he has such great selection, just a good guy overall, like always a good vibe on his shows. So, you know, you make some friends in the community, and every now and again they send you a free plant. Who doesn't like that? Right. Here goes our Cebu blue. Alright, let's do one more, you guys. We have a Yucatan Pink Princess, a Florida Beauty. We have a Billiete. This is a nice Billiete. We have a Jose Bueno. Let's go ahead and do this Florida Beauty. Florida Beauty, you guys. This is another beautiful plant. If you haven't seen these, I really like the way these grow. Like they kind of have like this torpedo shaped leaf with the little side arms, and then they branch out pretty nicely. So I've seen people put these on moss poles. I actually like the idea of moss poles. I try to put as many of my plants on moss poles as I can. Alright, so as we're pulling this out, we're also squeezing and trying to get up as much of that agar as we can. Alright, Florida Beauty. I was saying, you guys, at this point, like if you see any leaves, and we have a little yellowing leaf here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull that off. Mainly, you do want to rub the leaf in case there's agar on there, but mainly it's the root system, the rhizome. And these roots are very sensitive, I can tell, so you're being very gentle. You can also use a brush, but I've noticed that sometimes using a brush, it will actually rip off more than what it needs to. So if you do use a brush, just be cautious with that, very sparingly, and seem to be good to go. All right, and into our hydrogen bath now. Normally, you can see, and I have my GoPro up here, so you might be able to see like bubbles. There's some bubbles here, some bubbles there. That's just a hydrogen peroxide doing its work. But these tissue cultures are actually pretty clean because there's very little bubbles. I've had tissue cultures in the past where as soon as you throw it into the bath, like it just starts fizzing now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know that that's a dirty thing. So, all right, let's get our wash plate here. Let's move that out of the way. All right. So in the meantime, while our TCs are bubbling up right here, we're gonna go ahead and start prepping our medium. All right. And as I was telling you guys, I use stratum, fluval stratum, and perlite. Now, this stratum is recycled stratum, so it does have some old stratum, some new. There's even some leca balls in there. So what I did is added some fresh perlite, and all I'm going to do is this right here. Give it a good. Oh, that did not just happen. Oh my God, the boss is gonna be mad. Now, you do have the option, if you have mycos, you can actually add mycos to this. Mycorrhizae, which is a beneficial fungi. I actually do have some, so I think I might dust it. My friends, so I'm not sponsored by this brand or anything, but this is the brand that I like to use for the mycorrhizae. Okay, this is called a trifecta, and I really like this. Like, I tend to use this anytime I do any repotting and the roots just explode. You can measure it. It does give you measurements. It says two 2 tablespoons for 5-gallon pots. So I just kind of eyeball it. I just eyeball it. I pour a little bit in there. Now this stuff works by making contact with the roots, with the root zone. And if you've never used mycorrhiza before, then I suggest you try it out. Try it out. See if you like it. Try it on a plant that's not too valuable to you. It works in all mediums. Alright, my friends. So now we got our medium. I'll pot it up. I don't know if you can see that there, but nice and beautiful, right? And like I said, we're going to be transplanting our TCs into these 2-ounce cups here. And eventually what I'll do is I'll burn some holes down on the sides. These don't have holes yet. I probably should burn some holes, but well, we can do that later. Alright, so I got my little scooper here. We have this little catch tray, but obviously no need for that anymore. Alright, so I just put a little bit on the bottom here. And let's go ahead and get this Tigrina. Beautiful plant, guys, beautiful plant. And I don't rinse it off, but what I want to do is make sure these roots are tucked in there all the way. So I place the plant between my 2 fingers like this. My other hand, it's free for me to work the roots or pull anything out or move anything around. Alright, that's good to me. And all we're doing now is just filling it. Now I recommend you don't fill it all the way to the top because you will need room. Give it a little tap, tap, tap. Make sure all that substrate's nice and settled. And there's our first one, you guys, looking beautiful. Beautiful little plant, right? Alright, you guys. So there is one. Now, as I was mentioning to you guys, the tags for naming them, I do keep them so that I can identify them later. So all I'm going to do is I just kind of fold it and put it inside the second little pot here and tuck it in there. And then when I'm ready to transplant them over to these cups, I print the labels out and they're ready to go. So I do want to dome this kind of right away because let's go ahead and keep it here. Now tissue cultures require 100% humidity or close to there. So this little catch cup here is keeping everything nice and humid, okay? And then I'll put it inside of my grow cabinet or I have a little chamber where I can keep the rest of my TCs, and it just makes it really easy for me to move around. Alright, so there goes one. Alright, my friends, let's go with our next one, which is going to be, let's do, we have the Florida Beauty. And like I said, you guys, give yourself a chance, an opportunity. Never done TCs. It's so easy. You don't want to miss out on it, so I recommend you guys give it a chance. Alright, this is the Florida Beauty. And this is why I recommend not to get too caught up and do too many at a time because it's so easy. this track. So this Florida Beauty is a little bit on the shorter side, so when we pot it, we're gonna have to pot it a little bit higher. And all I'm doing is gently pulling the leaves up like this together, right? And that way it gives me a better view of what I'm doing going back through. Ultimately, whatever works for you, for your medium, you can use peat, you can use moss, you can use coco coir, rock wool. I've seen people use plugs, but as of right now, this is kind of what everybody's using. Fluval, 50% fluval stratum, 50%. And there goes our Florida Beauty, guys. Look how beautiful that is. Ta-da! Yeah. Alright. Let me grab another cup so I can cap this. Now, initially they do not need water of feeding. They're gonna, the medium that we're using here has enough nutrients to get them going, and there's gonna be enough humidity in there to give them the water that they need. So if you do water them, you don't want to overwater them, because then it can possibly lead to root rot while they're trying to establish their gentle roots. All right, my friends, let's do the next one. So next one we have the Cebu Blue. And like I said before, I'm just ripping these tags off for my reference. You can always label these beforehand. And another thing that I mentioned is that I am using a recycled medium, so there are some leca. Alright, my friends, so we left off with our little Cebu Blue, who's nice and potted up now. So let's go ahead and grab her a cup. I had already pre-washed all the cups here. Alright, and we have two left. We have our pink Carbo Marble. Let's go ahead and do that, but let's put her in her space here. And alright. Friends, our little Cebu Blue. There she goes. Alright, next we have our Caramel Pink Marble. Pink Marble is on the smaller side, so we're gonna have to be very careful potting her up, because her roots seem to come upward. This might be tricky. gently had to bury some of her leaves because her roots kind of come up. So I buried her leaves and then I'll pull them up a little bit. With her too much longer, we'll just leave her like that. Caramel marble, there she goes, my friends. So we do have PlankCon this weekend. Anyone going to PlankCon? I do plan to take my video camera and record and get to hang out with a bunch of friends and stuff. So I'm super excited for that. First PlankCon ever, you guys. Alright, Dragon Scale Aria. Just stick it in here. This one is a little bit bigger, so you have a little bit more room to play with. With the huge lick of balls in there. Nice and easy. Tap, tap, tap. And there she is. All done, you guys. So if you guys ever have any questions, just feel free to message me and I'm more than willing to help you guys answer any way that I can. And if I do not know the answer, then I'm always willing to help look for the answer. Well, and that's what we do for deflasking, my friends, and potting up our TCs. That's the way that I like to do it. There's multiple ways to do it. You can always get a cell tray. I've seen people fill up the cell trays with their medium, put their TC straight in there and keep them all together in a box. I've seen people pot them up and then put them in a community tote, like one of those clear bins. For me, myself, I like the individual cup because I can control each plant individually and I have the space for it. So that's the way that I like to do it. But as we said, there's plenty of different ways to do it. There's no wrong way to do it unless you're killing your plant. But with that being said, my friends, I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of these tissue cultures on my own, only because I don't want this video to be like a 2-hour long video, and I will just post an update once everything's done. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for checking out what I got going on. Thank you for your support. If you haven't already, like and subscribe and go through and check out any of my other videos. And I hope I'm able to provide you guys with some education and a little bit of inspiration and motivation to get your own tissue cultures going. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. My name is Acclimation Noir with Noir Leaf Collective, you guys. Thank you.